Prepare to be captivated and shocked as we delve into the chilling stories of the most alluring women on death row who, despite their beauty, couldn't escape the grasp of the Grim Reaper. How could such enchanting faces be connected to such heinous crimes? Are their looks deceiving? Krista Pike, a convicted murderer, achieved infamy for her involvement in torture and killing of a fellow teenager in Tennessee in 1995. At the age of 18, Pike, a striking young woman, committed a crime that shocked many. Her case sparked intense debate and controversy.
I was the first one they arrested, the first one they interviewed. And I thought that if I went in there and told him that I did every single thing that happened up there, that Daryl and Shadala would just get to walk out of there and they wouldn't worry about full responsibility for this anymore, and I won't, because if I'm gonna die in here, I'm gonna die for my truth.
Born on March 10, 1976 in West Virginia, Pike endured a troubling upbringing marked by maternal abuse. Rebellious and aggressive, she dropped out of high school during her junior year. In 1995, while working at a fast food restaurant in Knoxville, Tennessee, Pike became entangled with a group of teenagers, including Colleen Shelmer. Fueled by jealousy over a perceived romantic rivalry, Pike, along with two male accomplices, kidnapped Shelmer and had subjected her to hours of horrific torture in a secluded area of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The torture involved stabbing, piercing, and brutally assaulting Shelmer, ultimately leaving her to die. Hikers discovered Shelmer's body several days later, bearing the grotesque carving of Pike's name inflicted upon her with a box cutter.
And Krista and Daryl knocked her down and drug her back.
Absolute hell. And I can't imagine anybody going through that, and I can't imagine enduring as she did for that long.
Pike and her parents were swiftly apprehended and charged with the crime. Pike was found guilty on multiple offenses, including murder, abduction, and conspiracy, and was initially sentenced to death. However, her sentence was later changed to life imprisonment without parole due to her age at the time of the offense. During the trial, Pike exhibited little remorse for her actions, and her behavior in court was described as strange and unpredictable. She allegedly showed amusement and joy when gruesome crime scene photos were shown to the jury and engaged in offensive gestures and vulgar remarks throughout the proceedings. Following her conviction, Pike has remained incarcerated, reportedly grappling with mental health challenges. Her case has been the subject of numerous documentaries and true crime books, sparking debates concerning capital punishment and the treatment of young offenders. The tragic story of Krista Pike serves as a poignant reminder of the consequences of violence and the significance of addressing mental health concerns among youth. Taylor Parker, a Texas woman called Taylor Parker, found guilty of murdering a pregnant woman and stealing her deceased unborn child, receiving her final punishment. Numerous individuals expressed their thoughts on her appearance in the numerous videos of her trial and sentencing.
Indicted on that charge at this point. Parker's bond was revoked in court today, and the attorney for 27-year-old Taylor Renee Parker pleaded not guilty on her behalf.
Parker appeared outwardly beautiful, but concealed a hideous monster within. She had deceived her boyfriend and others with a false pregnancy claim, even organizing a gender reveal event. On October 9, 2020, she went to an Idabel, Oklahoma hospital to register for induced labor. However, that same morning, the police in New Boston, Texas, received a distress call reporting the brutal assault on a pregnant woman.
Went through the evidence and the law and felt that they had, and I absolutely think that she got the punishment that she deserved.
Officers arrived to find Simmons, who was 34 weeks pregnant, with a deep cut on her abdomen and the baby missing from her womb. Texas State Trooper conducted a traffic stop of a car that morning and found Parker holding a baby in her lap, and the umbilical cord was connected to the infant, which appeared to be coming out of the female's pants as if she gave birth to the child. The affidavit said Parker and the baby were taken to the hospital in Idabel, where hospital staff determined Parker had not given birth to the child. Parker then admitted to being in a physical altercation with the victim and abducting the unborn baby from the victim's body. Authorities determined Parker caused the ends of both Simmons and her baby due to the inability to provide necessary care to the child. Frances Elaine Newton, a convicted murderer, achieved widespread recognition for her involvement in the murder of her spouse and two young children in 1987. Newton was among the few women executed in Texas, igniting discussions on capital punishment and the treatment of female criminals.
I don't feel guilt in the sense that if I had done something differently, that it could have been. Sometimes I feel that I could have said something earlier about the things that Adrian was doing. They encouraged me to continue being a teenager because I was a teenager, but at the same time they helped me to be a good mother to my son.
Born on April 8, 1963 in Houston, Texas, Newton faced a difficult upbringing marked by paternal abuse. Despite these hardships, she excelled academically and pursued higher education. In 1984, Newton married Adrian Newton, and together they had a son, Dalton, and a daughter, Farah. However, their marriage was marred by domestic violence and financial troubles. In 1987, Newton was charged with the murder of her husband and children, despite her beauty and passion.
Some things that I do know, and that I know that if a jury knew, that they would have come to a different decision. I didn't know, but that one of the attorneys working on the case now told me about that, and those are like fingerprints. It's something that wasn't brought up in trial, you know, and I think that the jury should have been able to hear that.
Prosecutors allege that Newton's motive for the killings was financial gain, as she stood to receive a substantial insurance payout exceeding $100,000. The accusations claim that she shot her husband and suffocated her 2 children, staging the crime scene to resemble a robbery. Swiftly apprehended, Newton was charged with their murders. Despite maintaining her innocence, the trial presented compelling evidence, including ballistics linking her to the weapon and inconsistencies in her alibi. In 1988, she was convicted and sentenced to death. Despite numerous appeals, Newton's execution by lethal injection on September 14, 2005 was upheld. Her case ignited heated discussions on the death penalty, especially regarding women and individuals of color.
He made to try to stop this execution. I'm appalled at the fact that our government was for citizens of Houston, Texas. Be the black voice. We put you there. We put you there.
Numerous advocates for Newton contended that she faced unjust scrutiny based on her race and gender, asserting that the evidence against her was tenuous at most. Despite these claims, her conviction and sentence remained intact, making her one of the few women to be executed in Texas. Cynthia Kaufman, a convicted murderer, gained nationwide infamy for her involvement in the abduction and killing of 4 women in the 1980s in California. She was the girlfriend of one of the other criminals and aided in planning and executing the murders. Kaufman was apprehended, tried, and convicted for her heinous acts. Born on September 18, 1961 in Michigan, Kaufman grew up in California, where she worked as a waitress and dental assistant while attending school. In the early 1980s, she entered a relationship with George Gregory Marlowe, who would become her partner in a series of brutal killings. Despite her young age, Kaufman actively participated in the kidnappings and murders. Working alongside Marlowe and 2 other individuals, Kaufman kidnapped and brutally ended the lives of 4 women between 1986 and 1987 in California. The victims, aged 15 to 32, were chosen due to their involvement in drugs or prostitution. Kaufman played a significant role in these murders, participating in the abductions and serving as a lookout during the acts of destruction. After the 4th murder, Kaufman and Marlowe were finally apprehended by the police. They were both prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced to death. However, Kaufman's sentence was later changed to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, while Marlowe was executed in 1997. During her trial, Kaufman displayed little remorse for her actions, and her defense argued that she had been coerced by Marlowe into participating in the killings. Nonetheless, the jury remained unconvinced, finding her guilty on multiple charges of abduction, murder, and conspiracy.